Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with something that is crazy cool because we've got ourselves another brand new Creature Preacher release. And if you are looking at this kaiju and you're a little unsure what this is, well, I'm here to tell you that this is Pagos, and this is actually a kaiju from Ultra Q, which is pretty much the origin of Ultraman, and I love Ultra Q. I was so psyched when, I think it was Shout Factory released the entire series quite a few years back, and I binge watched that, and still love going back to that. I just feel like Ultra Q is just so cool. Even, I would say almost more enjoyable than Ultraman in some instances, because it feels like every single episode is just like its own kaiju film on its own. I don't know, there's just something so unique and so cool about Ultra Q that is very different from Ultraman. But this, again, is kind of like a Sofubi style. I think that's how you say that term. Figure, which is something that Creature Preacher has actually been creating. It's something he's very fond of, so it's a little bit of a different style for this one compared to your usual Creature Preacher release, but I think it looks equally as awesome, so let's jump to a closer look and check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see again he's captured the overall likeness of Pagos quite nicely. He definitely has sculpted this out to resemble the kaiju overall, but obviously again in Sofubi form, and I think he's done a very good job on every aspect, even in the texturing department. The figure does, as far as like the sealer that he used, you can see it does have a little bit of a shine to it. It's got somewhat of like a slight satin shine, so the light here that I have above my closer look area might be a little bit overbearing and kind of shining away the detail, but it does have very nice looking texturing to it. You can also see the teeth sculpted out, and you can see they as well have a very cool coloration. Actually, for the most part, you really only see like that one fang that has actual paintwork. Kind of looks like maybe there's a little bit of paintwork for the other teeth, but you just can't see it too well, again, because it's nice and dark inside the mouth, but you can kind of see how the coloration has led over into that area. But you also see that same similar coloration for the eyes, and the eyes kind of look creepy because of that coloration added to it. It's something that Creature Preacher often does is, again, when it comes to taking artistic liberties with the paintwork of his eyes, he sometimes gives them these really kind of almost creepy eyes, which I am actually a big fan of. I think it's very cool and definitely helps to make the figure look unique. And something else that he's been doing recently is allowing you to still be able to almost kind of articulate the figure. As you can see, we can kind of swivel the head and neck, so you can kind of give it like a curious look if you want to kind of tilt the head and neck area, which is really cool. But you can also see again the paintwork here in the face on top of the eyes and teeth is really nice, as it's got quite a few different variations of lighter and darker shades of browns, as well as even a black here on the top center of the head. And then when you move to the underside, you have like some reddish tones, like reddish browns on the underside of the lower jaw, moving down into the throat, where it does briefly disappear but then picks back up in the chest. Obviously, the underside of the figure is flat because it's, basically laying down. And again, well, not really necessarily laying down. Again, when it comes to old kaiju in the day and age of Ultra Q, and of course in Godzilla and things like that, Ultraman, you would often see of course, the guy in the suit, and whenever it would be like a quadrupedal creature, a lot of the time they'd be crawling around on their knees, so that's kind of what we have going on here. But moving up here into the back of our kaiju, you can see we've got like some small ridges moving down along the spinal column out into the tail. You can also see kind of an armored look to the back of Pagos, and you can also see again some nice paintwork up in this area, as we've got darker tones, lighter tones, more of those reddish sort of brown tones. Moving down into the side of the kaiju, down you can see the legs are sculpted out quite nicely. You've got a few kind of bumpy scales, as well as some ridges moving along the back of the front leg. And then you move down into the feet, you can see the toes as well are sculpted nicely, as are the nails. And again, we have more of like those reddish tones down there. And then as you move back here, you can obviously see again how it's on its hands and knees, again because of the man in a suit sort of kaiju that we have here. And then as you move out into the tail, you can see the tail leads up and also has some very cool greenish tones on the underside of the figure, which is very nice. And then if we take a look at the opposing side, you're going to see pretty much the same thing on both sides. You're not really going to see too much of any sort of difference from one side to the other when it comes to this one, especially again because it is in pretty much a totally neutral position, just basically standing there. But honestly, again, Creature Preacher continues to create such cool stuff, and I love the variety that he releases. Like, sometimes you have Sofubi style figures, sometimes you've got really serious takes on figures. Like, there's just so much variety, and not just in, like the style of figure that he creates, also in what he is creating, because yet again, we've got another kaiju here, but this time a pretty obscure kaiju that not everyone is familiar with. As far as a size goes, he's fairly small overall. For a length, you're looking at about 5 3/4 inches, or right around 14.5 centimeters. And then for a height, I would say right around 2.5 inches or 6.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Creature Preacher Pagos. And you can see again, it's fairly small. It's actually very similar, as you can see, in size to like your standard Attack Pack, Danger Pack type figure. This is one of those instances where I really don't have all that many figures that would compare well with this, and like thinking off the top of my head, I'm really not coming up with much of anything that I would think would be a good comparison piece with this one, because again, it's just so different and so unique. So I think I'll just bring in a few randoms. So there is a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus, continuing to show you that again, this is like roughly in that Danger Pack size range. Then we've got the Schleich Diabloceratops and Collect Day Deluxe Dimetrodon, also again continuing to show you that these are kind of similar in size. And then when it comes to one of the very few figures that I have as far as like older Bandai Ultraman figures, I think this guy's Bandai, you can see comparison wise what we've got going on. I'm actually intrigued now. I don't know if... Oh yeah, absolutely is Bandai. So I remember actually finding this guy at a flea market, which was super, super exciting because it's not something that you see very often. And then one final comparison, I decided to just bring in the Hiya Toys King of the Monsters Godzilla, because of course it's a kaiju, so why not compare one kaiju to another to help obviously show you that the Pagos is a good bit smaller than Godzilla. So this Creature Preacher Ultra Cube Pagos in Sofubi style is absolutely awesome, as everything he releases is. I'm really excited in general because it is such a super cool kaiju that you don't see get love very often. And I know there was a Bandai release of this kaiju at some point, which is like the only other one that I personally know of when it comes to a figure of this kaiju. So it's nice to see Creature Preacher, as always, paying tribute to the more obscure out there, and of course that's exactly what I would expect from him. And he's done a great job on the figure overall. The detail looks really nice, very nicely textured. The overall look and feel of the kaiju is very similar to what it looks like on screen, but of course again in Sofubi style. And his paintwork as well is really quite nicely done. He's added in quite a bit of variation of color, maybe even more than the original suit actually had, because I don't recall Pagos being all that colorful, so he's done a very good job of actually adding in quite a bit of variation of color to make the figure even more interesting and more exciting. And of course, I also like the fact that you kind of have the ability to sort of articulate the neck. I don't know if that's really exactly what he's going for, but he's done that on quite a few figures recently, and I'm a fan of it because I like the ability to kind of, alter the pose a little bit and just have a little bit more leeway with the way that I display it. But definitely another really cool figure. If you are interested in grabbing one for yourself, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that on the Etsy shop of Creature Preacher. So make sure you check those links, grab this figure, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.